Most people never read the fine print on a website or an app. They just hit, I agree. And studies show that 91% of consumers accept terms and conditions without reading them. Yet, these boilerplate contracts can include complex or buried clauses that significantly affect your rights. Fortunately, many legal systems recognize limits on hidden or unfair terms. The EU's Unfair Terms Directive requires standard contract clauses to be written in plain English and forbids terms that create a significant imbalance to the consumer. US regulators warn that companies may slip clauses into take it or leave it contracts to hide consumer harm or silence complaints. Courts generally insist there be a meeting of the minds. If a contract literally hides its intent in tiny fonts, buried jargon, or tries to trick the signer, it may be void. Consumer protection laws take abuse of small print seriously. A recent CFPB proposal notes companies often use fine print to censor their consumers and strip them of their rights. Contracts can't override basic laws. No terms and conditions can genuinely allow the company to break the law. In practice, clicking agree binds you to most terms, but blatantly illegal or grossly unfair terms will likely be struck down. Standard form contracts must be transparent and fair. Hidden obligations in minuscule print or legalese can be challenged. A crucial twist in our digital age is that digital goods are almost always licensed and not sold. Unlike a DVD or a book, when you buy a game, ebook, or an app, you're typically getting a license subject to the publisher's rules. This means that you never own a copy outright. The copyright holder usually retains ownership. US copyright law's first sale doctrine, which lets you resell physical copies, doesn't generally apply to licensed digital copies. Indeed, companies often make it explicit. Software is licensed, not sold, meaning you get limited rights of use. The Ninth Circuit has even held that strict license agreements on software copies can override the resale right. This license model has real consequences. In 2009, Amazon infamously removed purchased Kindle copies of 1984 and Animal Farm from user devices, claiming its terms and conditions allowed it. And more recently, California passed Assembly Bill 2426 in 2024, forcing digital sellers like Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation stores to clearly disclose that consumers are only buying a license. And from 2025, stores cannot use words like buy or purchase without a clear disclaimer that access is revocable. Lawmakers cited growing false and deceptive advertising by sellers who implied consumers own digital goods when they do not. So in practice, every digital purchase usually comes with a lot of strings. Terms and conditions may allow the company to revoke access if servers shut down, change features, or even cancel your account. Courts have recognized no one owns games anymore. Even physical media sometimes rely on online DRM. A global campaign called Stop Killing Games is urging game publishers to stop deactivating or deleting games that consumers have already paid for. And as of 2025, the petition has over 1 million signatures, sparked in large part by Ubisoft shutting down The Crew, a game rendered completely unplayable even in single-player mode due to its always online requirement. The movement's main objective centers around companies like Ubisoft and Blizzard, blatantly stating in their terms and conditions that they reserve the right to terminate your license at any time, for any reason, or for no reason at all. They argue that these companies should explicitly state that the product is being licensed, not sold, and an end-life period provided, at the very least, so that consumers can make educated purchases. Here, the man leading the Stop Killing Games campaign movement explains the movement like this.
As a refresher, Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement to stop publishers from effectively destroying video games they have already sold to customers. But the quick legal argument is that the vast majority of games with an online requirement say they can be terminated at any time for any reason. Or Blizzard likes to say any or no reason. But according to the EU Commission, that might be a violation of Directive 93/13 EEC, which protects consumers against unfair terms in consumer contracts. So if that term is unfair, that means that part of the contract is null and void. And if it's null and void, then what does the law say about how long your purchase lasts? Well, it doesn't. That's the whole mess. So if there are no legal guidelines, what are consumer expectations for how long video games last? Well, indefinitely. Now, of course, publishers can't support games indefinitely, but by not giving expiration dates or end-of-life plans, that might be the situation they've put themselves in.
And this led to the controversy surrounding PirateSoftware, where he misinterprets the initiative by stating that the movement is claiming these game companies should keep the games up indefinitely, which is not the case. Without getting too deep into the drama, here are a few clips of responses between the two, and you can form your own opinion around it.
Okay, point number 1. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically we don't want single-player games
No.
to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they want it to be about specifically games, where it is a single-player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists, instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. It's the first line on the website. Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers.
Transitioning an entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game. That's what they're asking for.
No.
Because they would have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single-player offline? No, nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games.
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it will impact every...
So PirateSoftware did not understand the initiative. Maybe still doesn't. That means the majority of his critique is about things it would not do, like kill all MMOs. I had never heard of him prior to all this, but during the campaign, I had dozens of people contacting me, telling me how wise and reasonable he is, how he's really pro-consumer and represents developers, and I should really talk to him. Great, let's do it. So this was my first encounter of him.
Oh shit, no, this is actually really dumb. It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. It's shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm gonna actively tell people not to. That is awful. That is a horrible goddamn direction. That's awful, dude. No, eat my entire ass. The level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is ass. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit then. I dropped the mask entirely. I have no qualms about that. They can eat my entire ass. The whole thing. That sounds stupid as shit.
Even beyond game shutdowns, many companies have quietly shifted to subscription models that lock in recurring fees. Adobe, for instance, moved from a perpetual license to Creative Cloud subscriptions in 2012. This raised new issues. You never own the software unless you keep paying, and canceling can be tricky. In 2024, the US Federal Trade Commission charged Adobe with deceptive practices for hiding early termination fees in its subscription plans. The FTC complaint alleges Adobe pushed a pre-selected annual plan online while downplaying that canceling within a year incurred a fee equal to 50% of remaining payments, trapping consumers with hard-to-find disclosures. This issue is not unique to Adobe. Many services from Microsoft Office 365 to online game passes have similar clauses. Companies favor auto-renewal and complex cancel procedures to boost revenue, exploiting users who don't read every checkbox or link. Faced with this landscape, consumers have mounted various responses. Legal actions. Gamers filed class action lawsuits after losing their access to the crew, alleging false advertising and breach of implied warranty. In California, plaintiffs even argue unused in-game currency from the crew should count as an expired gift certificate. Petitions and advocacy. The Stop Killing Games campaign urges the EU and international bodies to protect players' digital ownership, pressuring companies to offer offline modes or refunds. This petition, with over 1 million signatures, challenges the idea that publishers can legally destroy games they sold. Digital alternatives. Some users turn to platforms like GOG.com, which sells DRM-free copies of games, meaning no online check is needed and the game files are truly owned by you. The piracy argument. Frustrated consumers sometimes argue that if they don't own a digital item, copying it isn't stealing. Legally, unauthorized downloads are copyright infringement, not theft of property in the classical sense. US courts note copying a file leaves the original intact. While not condoning illegal copying, this debate highlights the tension. Many argue it feels unjust to pay for a license and then see it revoked, making unauthorized copying seem more palatable. The controversy has raised public awareness with phrases like, "If buying isn't owning, then piracy isn't stealing," trending, prompting legal experts to explain the nuance. In summary, the old notion that once you buy something you own it doesn't fully apply in the digital era. As one consumer plea went, "The digital age is all about licenses. If we don't own what we pay for, then claiming digital copy isn't stealing." Whether you agree or not, the bottom line is clear. Always read, or at least skim through the terms and conditions for big purchases. Lobby for fairer rules, and remember your legal rights. Consumer protection laws exist to curb the worst abuse of hidden terms, and new regulations around the world are closing the loopholes. The debate over digital ownership will continue, but informed customers and clearer laws are starting to shift the balance back towards the people.